No late night drama tonight at the Coliseum. Tyler Duffey closes it out for the Twins in the opener. We're going to break it down on today's episode, today's Locked On Postcast, I should say.
You are Locked On Twins Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, your team every day.
And welcome to another edition of our Locked On Twins Postcast. Today is Monday, May 16th. In Minnesota, it is Tuesday, May 17th. The Twins have beaten the A's tonight. Before we break it down, Built Bar. Imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting. That's what Built Bar is going to do for you. These bars are delicious. These bars are healthy. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. I'm Nash Walker, host of Locked On Twins, here with writer and reporter at Access Twins, Brandon Warren. We're back. Thanks for coming back. And Brandon, we're back after a Twins winner. They keep winning in our stead, right? They win the series over Cleveland, and they win again tonight.
Well, and congratulations to you on a big weekend, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know how much you want to get into that, but a big weekend for you and a big game for the Twins. They've played in their last 30 games against the A's at the Coliseum, and they've won 7.
Wow.
So we saw the horror show last year, HORROR to clarify, that was Travis Blankenhorn and Luis Ariz. So they're exercising some demons in this case, but man alive, I mean, just a well-played game, and frankly, done before midnight, which is a surprise to me because I was ready to throw in the towel about 6 innings in.
Absolutely beautiful. The game was pitched very well. Let's start with Chris Archer. 4 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 62 pitches, Brandon. They pull him after 4. In the moment, what did you think of that call?
Yeah, he's just I'm not an expert on pitching and in terms of like mechanics, but I feel like when he falls off the mound, he's facing like the first base dugout. He's just a little out of whack. I don't know that my view of that matters to anyone who knows anything about pitching, but I feel like he's just out of whack. And so he's just kind of scattershot with his accuracy and his command control, whichever applies in this case. So again, I'm still on the train that he's going to make a really good reliever once they get everybody healthy. Sounds like Bundy's back. Sounds like Ober's back. I mean, sounds like a lot of guys are back. Sounds like Trevor Larnach's about to come back, and so is Carlos Correa. So this team's going to look a lot different maybe as soon as tomorrow. But as far as Archer is concerned, I just don't feel good about him going through the order multiple times when he has no command the first time he's seeing some of these guys.
Probably the 2 most valuable players on the Twins last year, Byron Buxton, Jorge Polanco, each driving a run. Twins go up 2-1. And then Gary Sánchez adds a very important insurance run, Brandon. You look coming into the game, Mitch Garver, and we loved Garver. I loved Garver. Coming into the game, 0.1 wins above replacement at Baseball Reference and 91 OPS plus. Basically identical with Gary Sánchez. Gary homered tonight. Garver did not play. So what you're getting so far is about on par with what you'd be getting from Garver. Of course, the situation is different. But now looking back, we're 30-something games in. What have you thought of Gary Sánchez overall?
Yeah, I think Garver's on the IL right now too, or at least he was. So staying healthy is obviously a feather in Gary's hat. The hitting has been good when it's been on, bad when it's not. I mean, you can say that about a lot of guys. But I feel like his defense has been better than advertised. And you look at Fangraphs, and a lot of times he'll have positive value. Now, whether that's some kind of amalgamation of blocking and not having a lot of pass balls or whatever, it doesn't always indicate how a pitcher feels throwing to a guy, or if they trust him to block a breaking ball in the dirt with a runner on third. And it feels like that was kind of the narrative coming over from New York. 30 games in, I feel like it's looking a lot better. I tweeted that I thought he had passed the eye test defensively, and Tanner Swanson liked the tweet. Tanner Swanson, you might add, was very instrumental in catching instruction here before he went over to New York and was the catching instructor for Gary Sánchez. So either he sees what I'm seeing or he was just riding the wave of positivity. But I think Gary Sánchez has done a more than respectable job. And I was number one out there saying, I think he's going to be a DH only. Well, lo and behold, you trade Mitch Garver, you trade Ben Rortvedt in the deal to get Gary Sanchez in the first place, and they've had to ask a lot of Gary behind the plate, and he's responded very well.
You're right, Brandon. Mitch Garver, I believe, negative 18 defensive runs saved in 2018, and just lauded Tanner Swanson for the work behind the plate. And then Tanner goes to New York, works with Gary. I think the mistakes are amplified out there, as we knew when Gary was traded over to the Twins. I think the main storyline right now with this team on an individual short-term level is Royce Lewis, who was 1 for 3 tonight with a double and a walk on the season, is hitting 286. 306 on base, 457 slug, and 36 plate appearances. So it's a sober reminder every time. It's 36 plate appearances. We've covered this, but let's talk long-term, Brandon. How much more encouraged should Twins fans be now that we've seen Royce, have some success at the major league level, not just for his short-term, but his long-term success in a Twins uniform?
Well, I think your point about it being 36 plate appearances is well stated. Rob Refsnyder was an MVP candidate for his first 36.
Blow the whistle.
Or 63 plate appearances, however you want to look at it. I think it sends a possibly bad message if the Twins send Lewis down anytime soon. He's playing well in his first big league stretch. A lot of guys can do that. Josmiel Pinto did that back in like 2011 or whatever. So Chris Parmelee did it. He's not out of the woods by any stretch of the mind, but he doesn't look like someone who's overmatched. And so like when I look at Gilberto Celestino, who's been playing very well, I feel like he's getting a lot of well-placed hits. Maybe he's not smoking the ball, but he's dropping it down the right field line or whatever. And that's the kind of thing that can go away because it might not be sustainable. For me, Lewis looks like he belongs in every single facet, including defense, which I was one of the doubters as well. So I don't know how you can send him back, but at the same time, where does he play when Carlos Correa comes back, when it might be as soon as tomorrow's game? There's so much going on here. And two, we have to believe the Twins have at least some interest in bringing Carlos Correa back on a long-term deal. I don't think how Lewis plays in this stretch changes anything about that, but it certainly factors into the calculus. If you've got a pretty good shortstop, maybe you sign someone else to a big contract, a starting pitcher, for instance. So it's that old adage that it's a good problem to have, that you have too many good hitters, too many good position players. But man, this offense looks a lot different with Trevor Larnach in it, with Carlos Correa in it, and that day could be as soon as tomorrow.
Bullpen looks a little bit different than it did a couple weeks ago. We'll talk Tyler Duffey first. Head over to BetOnline. BetOnline.net. It's the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. Go bet on the Vikings. Get your heart broken in more ways than one. Tyler Duffey, let's give him some credit. We sat here after he blew a game at the K. The Twins will be back there this weekend. And, we were both saying maybe they should move him out of high leverage.
Yep.
And he's been nails.
And so I actually wrote the game notes for Bally. So I actually did the graphic that said that they were, second in relief innings this month and third in relief ERA. Wow. And the one team that was ahead of them in innings was the Rays with like double the ERA. So the Twins have gotten quantity and quality from this bullpen this month. Duffey would not be one of the first guys I would bring up, but ERA down to 3.0. I want to say he's striking out a guy an inning. He's not throwing 95, but he's doing some things that I think we may not have considered possible for him even as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago. So as soon as we kind of get in our mind that a guy is finished, it's so funny because things can turn so quickly. I mean, even just a couple weeks ago, we were ready to turn on Max Kepler, and then he went crazy. Jorge Polanco had a terrible April, and then has had an excellent May. It just goes to show that once you have your mind made up, baseball will do whatever it can to change it. So this bullpen and Tyler Duffey both deserve a ton of credit for how May has gone so far. We're about halfway through, so hopefully the second half is about as good as the first.
It brings me back to something you actually tweeted that for some reason I'll never forget when guys are going through struggles. It was last year and people were tweeting about Kepler, and then I think he had that 2-home run game at Wrigley. I think it was that time, and you had said, maybe Max Kepler didn't forget how to play baseball. It was something along those lines, and that's what I thought of for Tyler Duffey. I was like, he knows how to pitch. He knows how to get outs. And sometimes, his stuff has been diminished, but I think he can still do it, and he has done it. We'll hope that continues. Let's preview tomorrow. Dylan Bundy activated off the COVID list. Sounds like he's going to start tomorrow's game against James Caprillion, who was very, very good. Last time out against the Twins, they still found a way to win that game. What should Twins fans be looking for in this one, Brandon?
Yeah, I think you always have to be aware of a guy facing a team twice in a very short stint or a very short period of time. Certainly, Caprillion does not have a ton of track record, and so there's probably not a lot of film, not a lot of data. But at the same time, too, as a guy who hasn't been around that long, he's probably more susceptible to a veteran offense that works counts and that sort of thing. So, you'd hope for more of the same, if not more so. I mean, 3 runs is not super exciting against the A's, but when you hold them to 1, obviously you get to toast a win. Again, they just need to keep taking good plate appearances and basically whoever picks out of a hat that they're going to be the hero that day, whether it's Gio Urshela or Gary Sánchez or one of the big guys, Buxton, Polanco. The offense just has this feeling of like that third down receiver who moves the chains. I'm not sure of a good example because the Vikings have had like Chris Carter, who was a superstar, but it's always that one guy that you can look for that will get you a 3rd and 7, like a tough catch. The Twins have a whole lineup of those guys, and that's just got to be such a good feeling for a manager, for a pitching staff, for a starting pitcher. You give up 2 runs and you've still got a chance to win. I like this offense right now, even though they only scored 3 runs tonight.
Yeah, they've taken care of business against the A's with not scoring a ton of runs. 4-0 against Oakland. Keep it going tomorrow. Brandon, thank you so much. We will be back. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. A lot of people watching tonight. Thank you so much for watching, whether you're watching live or after. We thank you, and we will be back. Brandon, thank you, sir.